Alright, so we're checking out the AVIONRC IKON 3 in this video, and as you can see, it's very similar to the IKON 2.5 that I reviewed I think about a month or two ago. 2.5-inch version here, of course. Frame is different, quite a bit different, and I'll explain what's different. They obviously look similar on the surface, but the frame is quite a bit different on the 3-inch. The IKON 3 also comes in the same versions. You get obviously this is the DJI 03 bind and fly. They do have a walk snail version and a analog version, as well as a version without the 03 air units. So basically just the frame and the all-in-one flight controller and motors already installed, and then you can add your own FPV, and then of course you can get the frame kit alone by itself. So all those are available on the website. Now in terms of what you get, you're going to get the props, one set of props, and they're the Gemfan Hurricane 3020 by 3-inch props, and you also get the screws, and then they also include now this right-angled micro USB extender, and that is for getting a little bit easier access to the flight controller USB port right here. So if you don't have a good cable, this will help in getting access to that micro USB port. Now in terms of the electronics, they're actually identical. The same motors, I'll just show you here, the 1404s 4600 kV, and you get the same all-in-one flight controller, the JHE MCU. It's an F405 40 amp Blue Jay ESCs, and yeah, it's basically the same. It's exactly the same. So no difference in the electronics, just the frame is upgraded. And so let's talk about the frame here. So the big difference here, as you can see, is the 2.5-inch is the bottom plate is like an all-in-one, and you know, there were some complaints saying that if you crash really hard you might break an arm. That's true. If you're a serious basher, then maybe you want to move up to the 3-inch, which has replaceable arms, and the arms are thicker now. So you have these 3.5mm arms now, and they are replaceable, and this frame is pretty interesting. So I don't know, they have an M3 hole here that goes through this part of the arm right here, and then an M2 hole for this screw right here. So the arm will go like this, and all 4 arms are the same. You just flip them over for the back like this, and then reversed for the other side like so. And then so there's a lot of screws going on. There's multiple plates going on. So you have these 3.5mm arms, so a little bit thicker there for those of you that are going to be bashing this quite a bit. Got a lot of screws down here, so let's take a look at some of these, what's going on. You've got the all-in-one flight controller screws that go here. Those are these 4 here. You got the M3 and the M2 for the arms, and then you have an extra screw here that goes into this special plate, and it's going to be hard to see. I'll show you a diagram here in a second, but basically what you've got here is on this bottom plate here is 2mm thick. It goes from the front all the way to the back arms, but then you have this top, or this actually this extender plate here in the back. So the bottom plate ends here, but then it continues on as another section here. The sandwiches the arms right here. This is 1.5mm thick. This whole section back here doesn't really do much, so doesn't need to be that thick. The top plate goes all the way across. It's only 1.5mm thick, but you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 standoffs all the way across here, so that's okay. I think I'll be fine. And then what you've got here, you got the 2mm bottom plate here, 3.5mm arm, and you got this other 1.5mm plate here that goes across from here. So you see the press fit nut here for the M3 screw, and it goes across the arms to the other side over here. And just this one section right here. And then you got this one plate you can't really see, and I'll show you what it looks like in there's a diagram on the frame kit. So it goes, basically, there's a press fit nut that's right here. So you can see the plate, it shows up right here. This little, basically it's a sort of an interlocking plate that holds the arms in place so they don't rotate. It kind of locks them into place. So that's what this screw is for. It goes into this press fit nut here. It's very hard for the camera to focus on that. And then you got this 1.5mm plate here. It goes like this, and then it goes, yeah, I'll show it to you in a second here. It goes across the bottom here. So you have this one, you have one plate that's right here, and then another plate that's right on top of that. It's 1.5mm thick. That's why there's so much of a gap here between the flight controller and that plate. And then this is, again, for that piston nut on the front. So let me show you what that looks like on a diagram. So this is a photo from the frame kit on their website. So you can see there's that plate here. It kind of looks like a wishbone here, but there's a part that goes underneath here as well. That goes into there's a press fit nut right there and right there. And this whole piece right here is for additional strength and also locks the arms into place so they don't rotate. Kind of an unusual design here. Now you can see that there's 20x20 mounting holes, so you can put a 20x20 flight stack in here as well. Not sure how much room there is to put two in here. So you can see there's, the M2 screw goes all the way through here. You have a nut there, and you have a silicone washer, and then you have the grommet, and then you have a nylon nut at the top here. So I don't know. I don't think a two-stack 20x20 board could fit in here. You're probably going to have to go with like a single all-in-one 20x20 if you want to go with the 20x20 mounting. Of course, if you get the frame kit, I would recommend going with the all-in-one. I think that's going to be probably best because the 20x20 all-in-one boards, there are not that many of them, and not all of them might fit in here. Like the Flywoo, which is probably the best one to get, it is a little bit on the big side, so I'm not sure if that's going to fit in this space here. Not really sure. I would have to get the frame kit or tear this hole down to actually determine that. My feeling is that it wouldn't, because the corners are going to hit this arm section here. So yeah, I would just go with the all-in-one. It's nice that they offer that, but finding a board that's going to fit there, and then you're not going to be able to get two in there unless you go with like something that's not 03. So if you go with analog or walk snail, then the VTX is going to be smaller. Then you might be able to get away with a traditional 20x22 board stack in here. But if you're going 03, then you're going to probably have to go with the all-in-one. One issue I noted here is that the air unit USB-C port is kind of blocked here. If you don't have like one of those, I have like a special USB-C cable where I cut off the sheath so that they can kind of fit into these kind of tight spaces. If you don't have one of those cables, then you'll have to make one. A regular cable won't fit in there. So I did contact them, and they told me that they're going to flip the air unit over, so the USB port's going to be over here instead, so that it won't get in the way of the flight controller. This plug here and this screw here, the nut here, gets in the way of plugging into that USB-C port. Obviously, if you use the SD card slot, then that's not going to be an issue. So you got your, TPU arm bumpers here, but they didn't do the little feet here. So you're landing on the screws. So on the Ikon 2.5, you can see there's these little feet right here that you're going to land on. So you're not landing on the screws. But yeah, I'm not sure how that can be mitigated, other than the fact that I added some foam pieces here. So these are not included. I put these on myself, but I probably need to put some thicker ones on here because it still kind of gets really close to the screw. And also like right over here. So you can see like where I'm putting this blue stick here. If you land straight on the foam, it's fine, but then of course there's not a lot of gap there. So they should probably modify this TPU part right here, put like a protrusion that sticks out right there to land on, and this you're not landing on the screw. So that's another suggestion I made. They did put a zip tie here for the battery connection, so that's good. That's not going to get pulled in a crash. The standoffs are different sizes. So the three in the back are they're all M2, of course. It's a 3.5mm outer diameter, but the one in the front is a 4mm outer diameter, still M2. Plus, they have the large TPU print here for the camera, so the camera is pretty well protected. And the front of the frame here with the thicker standoffs here is going to be able to handle pretty good hit, I think. Obviously, for you super bashers, you're gonna never be happy unless you have, you know, you're gonna probably want at least a 4mm top plate, 4mm bottom plate, 5mm arms, but then I don't know how much this thing's gonna weigh, probably a ton. The other thing that I would change is have them include a shorter battery strap. So I did try a number of batteries. The recommended battery is, I think, 550 to 850. So I tried, I tried the 550, I tried a 660, and then an 850. And for the pit tune that's on here, which is like a manual pit tune, they're not using the sliders, and then so if you're going to be adjusting it, it might be a little bit tricky because you won't be able to use the sliders. But out of the box, if you stick with these batteries that I just mentioned, you won't need to adjust anything. And I'll show you the weights here in a second. Flies really well on the recommended range. Now, obviously, if you want more flight time, you can go to something bigger like an 1100 or 1300 4S. This battery strap can handle a much bigger battery, no problem. They just need to include a shorter battery strap for these smaller batteries. The flight times, well, let's see, like it's going to be a range. So for typical flying on the 550, I was seeing like between 4 and 5 minutes of flight time. The 660, I'm getting like 5 to 6 minutes of flight time. And then the 850 is like 6.5 to 7 minutes, roughly. Obviously, it depends on how you're flying. If you're really taking it easy, you can stretch it out. This does not draw a ton of amps when you're just cruising around. But if you're going crazy on the throttle, you could definitely shorten the flight time by quite a bit if you're super aggressive. So these are just ranges. I did try the 1100 for us as well. It didn't really fly that great. It's kind of heavy. There's more prop wash. I wouldn't recommend going with a heavier battery than an 850 unless you're willing to adjust the PID tune. But you are going to get, if you just kind of cruise around, you're going to get like close to an 8 to 9 minute flight on this 1100. So, you know, if you're not really aggressive and you don't care about too much prop wash, there's not too much wind, that battery is fine as well. Now let's just show you how much all this stuff weighs. Okay, so just the quad by itself, no battery, 153 grams. And then with the Forest 550, 211 grams. I think the best one for me is the 660. It's 216 grams. I think that's the best balance of performance and flight time. And then the Forest 850 is 239, 240. And if you go to this 1100 here, now we're at 243. So still under 250 grams, even with the giant battery. And it still flies okay, just not as good as the lighter batteries. I did forget to show you the dimensions of the frames. So the motor to motor distance is about 140 millimeters. The side to side is about 100 and, what is this? It looks about 111, 112 millimeters. And then the front to back, we're running about 83 millimeters. So it's a squish decks because it's not as long front to back as side to side. So it's a, known as a squish decks type frame. All right, so a couple last things to note. You got a little TPU part here holding the capacitor, which is nice, and then they just kind of wrap the O3 camera cable around the standoff here. I would keep an eye on that, make sure that doesn't get loose, because if it does, then it might get caught up in the props. But as long as it stays tight like that, it should be fine. Just check on that once in a while. I think that is pretty much it for this model. It is a very nice flyer. I'm going to show you the narrated flight. You can hear what it sounds like. It's really quiet. It makes less noise than the 2.5 inch, which kind of makes sense because it's a bigger prop. I think this 3020 prop is new, and the ones I've flown before, the Hurricane series, I think the 3016 and 3018, they are probably better for, lighter setups. This is obviously has a little more pitch, and it's going to be better for this sort of a little bit heavier setup. For me, I prefer like even lighter than this, but more power. I just like having like crazy amounts of power. I wouldn't say the power is inadequate. You can definitely do, you know, most of the freestyle tricks that you want with this one. Not sure if I'd be racing with this one at all, but I think if you like something that's going to get thrown around more, it has got a little more momentum, this is almost perfect for a 3-inch. So I really like the tune. I like the build. Everything is great. So if you're looking for something that is in a 3-inch, analog, digital, whatever, this is kind of, you know, close to the best I've seen in a while. So I definitely would recommend it. Link will be down in the video description if you want to check it out. Here's the Narrate flight. Talk to you guys in the next one. So I'm going to fly closer so you guys can hear it. I don't think I've tried this 3020 prop before. It sounds a little bit different from the 20 or the 3016 and the 3018. A little bit more pitch. Yeah, the tune's nice. It snaps on the rolls. It just snaps. It just stops. It's nice. No prop wash. Pretty snappy and no prop wash. Really nice tune. You know, they did like a manual tune in this one, so they didn't use the sliders. Very nice. Trying to do a tripper spin. Not enough camera angle. Not enough power, I don't think. Probably do it, but the noise isn't too bad. Full speed, throttle. Yeah, that's not too bad. You can still hear the jet over to the left. Yeah, I like the way it flies. It's really locked in. Like the tune's really good. Just feel like it's a little on the heavier side for, it needs a little bit more power for the kind of freestyle that I like to do, but I mean, I think it's adequate. Power loop. Let me do a more tight power loop under this small tree here. Hopefully I don't crash. Try this again. Power loop it. There we go. Yeah. Interesting. A little bit of prop wash, just a tiny bit. You could probably hear that, but didn't come out too much in video. Let's try that again. A little bit too much. Yeah, this is a very capable machine. No complaints. Very nicely balanced CG wise too. I don't feel any like tendencies forwards or backwards or left or right. It's just very nice. Yeah, no prop wash. Very, very nice, really smooth. Whew. Oh, a little bit of prop wash there. Come right into your own prop wash. You can kind of force it. Let's see, we're at 3.5 volts. And dive that light, stadium light. And I think I'm at the end of the battery here. All right, guys. Let me know what you guys think.